Everybody, and welcome into another episode of the Level Playing Field podcast. Today we got Brendan Sorsby again in the news, but for a different reason now. So now he got his eligibility back, had a judge grant him an injunction. Then he says, you know what? There's too much backlash towards Texas Tech. I'm going to remove myself. I'm going to go to the supplemental draft. And now the NFL comes out and says, whoa, bud. You're not coming anywhere. We're not going to have a supplemental draft this year.
But the kid,
don't want
the kid done something right. We told him.
In the rare occurrence,
we told him when this whole controversy started.
Right.
We told him he needs to just remove himself. He needs to pray. He needs to get himself right, and he needs to remove himself because he done wrong. He done wrong. So the kid makes the right decision and say, okay, I done wrong. I don't want to create a controversy for the rest of my teammates. I want to move on, and here's the NFL. Tell everybody how the NFL has two or three guys that they know of that done exactly what he did, and they're playing.
This is the most fantastic thing about the hypocrisy of the whole situation here, right? Because this is not a first level conversation. This is second, third level. You got to know the actual inner workings of the NFL, and there's players in the league right now that kind of sort of maybe did the same thing as Sorsby, but they didn't get caught until they were in the league. So now I forget the name off the top of my head, but the one receiver for the Patriots, I believe, got caught gambling while he was in the league, but he got caught gambling at LSU. So it's kind of the same thing. So the NFL is saying, hey, we can't have you just come in the league with no punishment because now we're kind of opening up a can of worms here. And in their statement, I believe they said that this is too significant and too closely tied to the league's integrity initiatives to bring in someone who's gambling on games and has this kind of track record. So what they said to him is, hey, go home, work on yourself, fix your gambling addiction, and come back for the 2027 NFL draft.
That's comical. I will tell you, Andrew, they're the ones. They're the ones that are creating these situations. I mean, the kid at LSU covered it up. The other kid covered it. Three of them cover it up, and God knows how many there are. We have told you time and time again, it's an epidemic. Guess who's creating the epidemic? The NCAA and the NFL and the NBA and MLB. They're all guilty of it. Every single one of them, right in front of their eyes, have guys fixing games and guys gambling on games. What do they think is going to happen? By them, let's talk about how every single commercial on television, we used to be able to watch behind the goalposts, college games and NFL games, and you saw John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that he believeth shall not perish but have eternal life. Mm-hmm. Now, it's every betting company, right? It's every betting company behind the goalposts, around the stadiums, hockey too. Mm-hmm. All of them are guilty of it, but now they want to have integrity, the NFL says. It ruins our integrity. It's comical. They're the ones that are creating these habitual, addicted young athletes and older athletes that are participating in gambling because they're promoting it. They're putting it in our bedrooms. They're putting it in front of the kids morning, noon, and night. And what did Andrew and I tell you guys? What are they going to do with all the NIL money that they're getting? Okay, they're gonna gamble. They're gonna buy prostitutes, right? They're gonna spend their money on all the wrong things, drugs, right? And that's exactly what's happening. It's manifesting itself right in front of you. So the system is definitely broken, okay, and it needs to be fixed. The NIL money is poisoning the NCAA, and this kid's our poster child for that. He's a great athlete, has a great future, and a couple dollars is going to ruin his entire life and ruin his entire future. So for God's sake, and I pray for these kids all the time, Andrew. But it comes down to these $1 billion entities in the NFL, in the NBA, NHL, MLB, and even soccer. But what makes me so sick about it, Andrew, is they try to make themselves out to be like squeaky clean, and it's disgusting. It's really disgusting,
Yeah.
Andrew.
No, and I think it's a perfect example. It's like now the NFL is a business, and they're like, we don't want to invite this controversy into our ranks, right? And they don't want to be called the hypocrites.
Listen,
But like it's so hypocritical because they're taking the money from DraftKings. There's the official sports book of the NFL. Like it doesn't make
all of their stadiums are plastered. All of the commercials are plastered.
FanDuels, all of it,
Everything,
MGM, everything.
And then remember, the reason why is because on those blowout games, they want people to keep watching. So the ratings stay strong, and they can keep making their billions and billions of dollars off of their television contracts, and that's the reality of it. They don't give a about this quarterback. No. They don't give a about their athletes. They're gambling. They know it. And what do they do when they catch them? They hide it.
On the wrist.
They hide it. So they hide it. But listen, I would tell you, any of you that are addicted, man, you got to go to DennisAtiyeh.org, and we have a great site there. It's called Armies for Jesus and Answers by Jesus. I don't care if it's alcohol, drugs, pornography, witchcraft, whatever it is, and everything in between. You come to this website, DennisAtiyeh.org, man, it's awesome. And click on those buttons, man. It's a gateway through to get rid of your addictions. We'll be right back.
Is that tree becoming a problem? Don't wait until it's too late. At AE Tree, our ISA certified arborists provide expert tree removal, tree trimming, pruning, stump grinding, and emergency storm cleanup throughout the Lehigh Valley. We're fully insured, safety focused, and committed to protecting your home, business, and landscape with professional tree care you can trust. Whether it's routine maintenance or emergency tree service, AE Tree gets the job done right. Call AE Tree today at 484-444-TREE or visit aetreepro.com for your free quote.
Okay, so now we're going to be talking about the NBA and the NBA draft that just happened this week too. So we had 14 international players drafted by NBA teams, which is crazy.
Imagine that.
Over the last couple of years, there's been a trend culminating with I think 27 players in 2016. That's 45%. So this international trend has really kind of skyrocketed over the last decade.
It's disgusting.
So
it's just not in basketball, Andrew. It's not just in basketball. And what's disgusting, basketball, I mean, they gamble morning, noon, and night. They just had one of their players, they just put him in prison. And really, that's just one that we know of. And there's another 14 or 15. The FBI says their investigation is continuing into this entire NBA gambling crimes that are occurring. It's criminal. And the NBA are experts, just like the NFL, just like Major League Baseball, just like hockey, to keep it under the wraps. Because remember, the ones who make the most noise are the ones who win in America, right? So the NBA just keeps their machine going, this well-oiled machine, and just says, "Oh, what's the big deal?" No, there is a big deal. There's a gambling epidemic, and you, the NBA, are promoting gambling morning, noon, and night. Now, we also have an issue with these foreign athletes. What is going on with these foreign athletes? It's bad enough that the NCAA has been invaded by European and African basketball players that our kids can't even get a scholarship to play. Then on top of that, they're all getting paid big money to play basketball, and what are they doing with it?
Nothing.
The same thing that the quarterback was doing.
And I think
and that is such a toxic environment that they're creating, Andrew. I mean, they're just creating a toxic environment.
And I think that's really interesting to tie it back in to what we were talking about with Sorsby and with the NFL. These leagues have to make sure that they don't lose the most important thing, and that's the trust in the fans of their product. So what happens, like in the NFL, you bring in a Sorsby, right? Or you have multiple people, multiple instances now of gambling, and you lose that credibility. Where people are like, I don't trust what I'm watching on the field. I mean, I'll watch it. I watch the WWE. I watch the fake wrestling. So I'll just watch this, but in the same thing. But I'm not going to be betting my money on it. And I'm like the same in the NBA. Like, we got a scandal that came down with what, 40 plus players, coaches, referees, and you're like, how is this allowed?
There was just a few years ago, there was a big referee scandal on top of that. So hello. So now, what they do to keep expanding, they're a marketing machine. So to keep expanding their market and their revenue share, they're going to bring in all these foreigners from Germany. For God's, Germany's got enough money. We don't need to be giving them our college athletes opportunities and giving them our money. Look, what the NBA's got to do is it's a step in the right direction. They're adding 2 teams, right? So here's what's funny. They have a patent, basically a monopoly, on them and the NFL on basketball in this country and internationally, and they did not invent football or basketball. How fair is it that 50 or 60 companies and men and women who never wore a jockstrap in their life has the monopoly on these sports? Man, look, we need a team or 2 in every single state in America so those billions of dollars can get spread out to the American kids. And if Germany and Africa and these other countries, wherever they're at, want to be part of the professional sports franchise, let them start their own league. How is it that you and I, we understand what's going on. They want more people watching, so their viewership goes up, and they want more people gambling. They want more suckers. Do you understand? So that's why they're bringing in this whole international spin, and in baseball, South America, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But this is what's going on, Andrew. It's such a con, and it needs to stop. And that's up to the people to stop it, and they just stop watching. I'm going to tell you, after what I've seen here, I'm only going to watch the highlights, and I don't even like watching that. So you and I can continue to do this show, but it's disgusting what's going on, and people need to stop watching.
It's hard.
They just need to stop
It's
watching.
hard to watch because you watch, and then every other day the commentary. If you do watch ESPN or you do watch any of these shows, it's not even about the sport. It's not even about between the lines. It's about all the things happening outside the lines. It's a soap opera, and that's what it's really come down to. So again, these franchises and these leagues are playing a fragile. They're hovering over a very fragile line of what is acceptable and what they're watching the court of public opinion, kind of turn in real time. When Sorsby did that whole thing and people said, "Nah, this is too much. This is too much. We don't want this." And they switched on a dime. So again, I don't want to preach to anybody, but what do we always say about your dollars and voting with your eyes and all that kind of stuff? That was a perfect example. That kid was going to play in college this year. He got an injunction. He did everything, quote unquote, by the rules. And the court of public opinion spoke, and they said, whoa, we're about to lose a ton of money and a ton of credibility. So we need to nip this in the bud. This kid's gone. And the NFL did the exact same thing. So if you want an example of how these industries and these leagues can and will make changes based off of how the public feels, that's a perfect example. That's an absolutely perfect.
But again, Andrew, they're the hypocrites. They're the ones that are creating it. They need to get gambling. They need to get gambling off the campuses. They need to get gambling off of the TVs, and they need to put their foot down when someone does gamble and they get caught. Not slap them in the hands. I mean, all we need is another 10,000 Art Schliesters, right? Or Pete Roses. Man, look, it's got to stop now. They got to put their foot down. They got to put their foot down. And again, look, if you have a gambling addiction, man, go to DennisAtiyeh.org and click on Answers by Jesus or Armies for Jesus. Man, awesome stuff. I don't care what you're having trouble with. It'll heal you. We're going to go to break. We'll see you in a little bit.
Hey guys, I want to take a minute to thank our sponsor, Cobalt Construction. Let Julius and his crew build your dreams and move your mountains. They are located in Mount Pocono, Pennsylvania. You can give them a call today at 570-895-4613 or visit them online at cobalt-construction.com. That's cobalt with a K. They have topsoil, mulch, and everything you need to get your yard ready for the summer season. All right, let's get back to the show. Okay, so back to talking about the court of public opinion, because that's in America, that is really where we live, right? We have as the consumer, you have the ability to raise your voices and make changes, as we've just talked about with the NBA and the NFL. So now we want to talk about, want to tie that into, the outreach for maybe someone like a Kurt Schilling or a Matt Millen, who isn't in the Hall of Fame because maybe they're a little too outspoken. So, Dennis, tell me about your thoughts on that one.
Well, I would tell you, Andrew, looking at what's happening in Major League Baseball, that a bunch of Christian brothers are forced to wear this, whatever you want to call it, hat. But they're like, no, and they want to put scriptures on and speak out for Jesus, speak out for
the
God.
Giants pictures did that. Yes.
So. Oh, by the way, I'm in Luke right now, 23, and it's Pontius Pilate choosing Barabbas because the crowd, the Jews and the Greeks and the Romans that were there, they were all chanting Barabbas, Barabbas, Barabbas. So that's sort of what we have going on here. We have the world, the Romans and the Jews and the liberals out there chanting homosexuality, homosexuality, gay pride, and guess what? That's who the Major League Baseball is going with. That's who the NFL is going with. That's who the NBA is going with. They got rid of a Christian basketball player because he spoke out. He spoke his truth. He executed his rights, his constitutional rights in our country, and he got fired. But it's happening morning, noon, and night. And it happened to Tim Tebow, greatest college quarterback in U.S. history, one of the biggest and most exciting players that drew millions and millions of kids. And they muffled them. They went for Barabbas. And I'm going to tell you something, Andrew. The NFL, the NBA, the MLB, and the NHL is doing the same. Will be punished by God on that great day, because you cannot muffle the voice of Jesus Christ. He's the greatest human being that ever walked the earth, and will come back on that great day. But I will tell you, as much as they think that they can, they can't. He's real. He died. He resurrected. John 3:16, man, you better eat it. You better breathe it. You better live it, because every knee will bow. Every knee will bow to him on Judgment Day. So get it right and stop being the Barabbases. Stop being the crowd chanting Barabbas. And that's exactly what's happening with these franchises. And even in the NCAA, they stopped Tebow from putting John 3:16 on his eyes and various messages. But I would tell you this, Andrew. I would tell you this. Man, it's disgusting. They're holding it against Schilling and Milling and Millen. And they're keeping guys out of the Hall of Fame. We had Larry Serenano on our show down in D.C. The team in D.C., the baseball team in D.C., they caught him red-handed. These homosexual marketing people, they said specifically they weren't going to include him in any type of messaging or any type of interviews because he's a Catholic. I mean, if that's not discrimination, I don't know what is, Andrew, and it needs to stop. It's disgusting.
I'm not saying anything any which way. I'm just saying, Pride Month. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. You could have picked better branding. I'm just saying. It is what it is. But,
well, listen, I was in Pittsburgh at the Joe Moore camp, and a guy was working at the hotel. One of my fellow instructors, and he was telling me they had people there in the hotel with cats. They were acting like they were cats, and they had to put litters. They had to actually put litters out in the bathrooms and around the hotel for these people that thought they were cats, for God's sake. Look, I don't know. look, we need to stand up for this guy named Jesus, man, and he will bless you. And look, he acknowledges this. One of my scripture readings this week was, if you acknowledge me, I then will acknowledge you. Okay? If you deny me, I will then deny you. I mean, look, it's here on earth, and it's in the afterlife. So I will tell all of you, man, to get your hearts right and get yourselves right for Jesus. But Andrew, I was also watching a program for a little bit. They had about women and Title IX, and I've always made this argument about how the Title IX sports all need to be reinstated from 40 years ago, because I did check in on the Major League, the NCAA World Series, and I would tell you, what a crowd, Andrew, what a crowd. All 3 games packed, sold out. The softball, the same. I mean, it's booming. It's booming. And there was this program with King, Billie Jean King, some weirdo. All right. And some other woman that was the homosexuals were trying to make it seem like they were the reason why there's equality in women's sports. But the best thing I got out of it, which is bull, but the best thing I got out of it was that, 9.9 million in attendance in women's sports this past year, which is crazy, which calls me, and the money that they're making in NIL is like record. Like, women had record money paid to them in the NIL. So that's my argument to get all the men's sports back. Okay, they dropped wrestling, they dropped men's volleyball, men's gym. The greatest athletes in the country are the gymnasts. Men's gymnasts are the greatest athletes in the. They're freaks. They're really freaks of nature. And the wrestlers, the same. And volleyball guys. So they got, and track and field, they gotta bring back and reinstate all of those sports, Andrew, because when they dropped all those sports, it was because the women's sports were losing money. And based on this report that I watched, they're booming. They're making money. They're getting paid NIL. So we have to work on reinstituting all of those athletics that were dropped, okay, and giving those opportunities to those 60 million youth athletes that compete every year in America, Andrew. And we have to cut these foreigners from taking their scholarships, and for 40,000 of them are taking our kids' scholarships. That's got to get too. So we have to expand and get those sports back in all the conferences, and then we need to stop those foreigners coming in illegally and actually even making money with the NIL, violating our immigration laws. So that's something that I got from this program, and I really think, man, you folks that are watching us got to really wake up, man, and be the voice of our children. Looking at this NBA draft, man, it's not getting any better. It really isn't. And you guys need to really step on the gas and put some pressure on the various politicians and powers that be, the universities, the alumni, and stop this absurdity. It's the NCAA, not the International Collegiate Athletic Association. Those scholarships are reserved for our kids, Andrew, and those monies need to go to our kids, our American-born kids, our American athletes, because you know what else too? These foreign athletes, Andrew, they're all in their 25s or 26 and 27s. Yep. It's not fair, man. We're not it's not apples to apples. So there needs to be a lot of change. The National Collegiate Athletic Association needs to get straightened out, and we, the people, can do it. God bless you, and thank you for listening to our program.
Yeah, no, that's it. And there's a lot of tax dollars floating around in there too. A lot of these schools get subsidies, land grants, all from the government. So there's a whole other layer to this stuff. But again, hey, so we want to thank everyone for listening to our show this week. If you want to like, subscribe, and continue to comment and interact with us online at all our social media channels on YouTube and Spotify. We really appreciate all the love and support that we get from you guys, and it gives us, the encouragement to keep doing the show every week and bring you guys a conversation that, again, you're not hearing. You're not going to hear this on ESPN or CBS. So again, we want to thank you, and until next time, have a great day.